Good morning and welcome. It's a cool morning here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. 23 degrees, we understand, with light showers this morning. The roads might be a bit slippery, so if you're driving within Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, drive with care. Good morning and welcome. I'm Mpape Ogunyusuf.
Well, it's the sky looks misty and cloudy here. I'm looking forward to a bright and sunny day, but I don't know really what it's going to be like in Benin City this morning as events unfold for the election of Saturday. In the meantime, good morning and welcome. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Well, I can tell you that the skyline we're looking at this morning is not that of Benin City in Edo State. Yeah, the Edo State capital. Well, we'll be going there shortly to bring you up to speed with a look and feel of the mood as the elections approach this weekend. We've been seeing quite a number of visits, but let's talk about the visuals you're seeing on your screen. What you're seeing right there is the Mpape Crush Rock. Yes, it's a site you can see that has been dug out and has been like that for a number of years, literally becoming a tourist site of sorts in the suburb of Mpape, very close to the Asokoro area of the Federal Capital Territory. Now, in recent times, Mpape has come under some scrutiny because the residents there say that they have felt tremors, afraid of a possible earthquake. The authorities have acknowledged the tremors that they have felt and have said that, they have kept equipment there to monitor what's going on. They say it's as a result of mining or digging activity that could be happening around the Mpape district. So they have cooperated with the FCT authorities to stop the activities in the meantime, so as not to provoke the fault lines. But I think that we need to have a little more clarity because this is not the first time such tremors are being reported. And what we were told is that the FCT wasn't really sitting on any fault line or that they weren't at risk of any possible earthquake. Is that particular, will I say, forecast? Is it changing now? Are there really fault lines? Are we on any tectonic plates that could be shifting? These are key questions that residents of Mpape and by extension, the rest of the FCT have on their minds this morning. But this visual you're seeing is the famous Mpape Crush Rock. Many of these kind of sites you will see in the FCT as people mine granite and other types of minerals, in the FCT. Ayo.
Well, perhaps that bit about mining is why the Minister of Solid Minerals is interested in this conversation as well, because he also put out a statement saying the earth tremors experienced in the FCT are caused by what he calls accumulated stress. Now, he is assuring residents of Mpape and Katampe communities in the FCT to not panic because the recent tremors in the FCT have nothing to do with anything that should cause any stress and that the situation is being monitored closely. Over the past few days, according to him, monitoring station at Katampe has recorded several ground motions with an increase in intensity and frequency over the past few days. But according to him, it is no cause for alarm, no cause for panic. The tremors are caused by accumulated stress along what he calls identified faults and have multiple epicenters. So, dear people in Mpape and Katampe, please do not panic. But believe me, Mpape, this that I'm seeing, can we just build some stuff around it so people can go there for tourist functions? Because this thing, I'm trying to do some design in my head around it, and all I see is something like the Grand Canyon. Maybe I'm being too idealistic, but this is definitely a beautiful sight.
Well, indeed. I mean, you can always make the most. They say when life gives you lemons, you make lemonades. But this one is not life that gave it to us. This is human activity giving us this particular lemon. And I think the residents of Mpape have been trying to make lemonade out of this Crush Rock site, which when you actually do visit it, it is quite a sight. Very pretty, as a matter of fact. This is us digging our hills and our mountains and trying to mine the granite, of course, to construct our cities. And, you know, they say you can't make omelets without breaking eggs. And what do you do with the shells? You can also make something of them if you're creative enough. So let us see. We sincerely hope that, you know, nature will be kind to the FCT, to residents of the FCT, and that all that we're seeing might just be maybe mild shifts here and there and nothing to truly, really worry about either. But while we keep tabs on that particular situation, let's quickly take you through the papers and what they're saying this morning.
Let's begin a look at the papers this morning with the Guardian newspaper, which talks about inflation. Low patronage hits online stores, malls, amid 200% spike in prices. That story is on page 6. And the image and the infographics on the front page gives you an idea of what's happening right there. But look at the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. Alleged 80.2 billion naira money laundering. Again, EFCC operatives storm Yaya Bello's home as former governor eludes operatives. Hold EFCC responsible if anything happens to Bello, spokesperson. Bello still on our wanted list. According to EFCC, I have nothing to hide or fear. As from Yaya Bello, find the details of that story on page 2. Daily Independent, Edo Cuba, PDP asks supporters to activate mechanism to defend vote. Go to polling units with enough food, water, medication, mats, spare clothes, smartphones, and other essential items. That's the late story, continues on the inside pages of the paper. The Daily Times, PDP to Tinubu, you have responsibility to ensure Edo governorship poll is free, fair, credible. Vows to resist attempt by APC to rig poll, counsels IGP not to allow APC pitch police against Nigerians. CDS in Edo promises secure environment for Saturday's poll. Check page 2 for details. Daily Trust is talking about the Zamfara boat mishap where 10 bodies were recovered, 22 still missing. Search extended to neighboring villages. Survivors, victims, families speak how accidents happen. That's according to eyewitnesses. Check the details of that unfortunate incident on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper today. The lead story of the Blueprint newspaper is Borno flooding. FG moves against hazardous chemicals, disease outbreak. NAFDAC seizes harmful drugs. NEMA identifies monkeypox threat in IDP camp. 300,000 children, women cramped in 26 camps. That's according to SCI. Remi Tinubu donates 500 million naira. Deco, AG and others 1.5 billion. The details continue on the inside pages. The Nigerian Tribune has drama as EFCC and Yabelo engage in game of wits. Ex-governor honored commission's summons, left without being interrogated. That's according to Media Aid. He is not in our custody. He remains a wanted man, as from EFCC. New Telegraph is interested in the Borno flood. FG deploys experts to test water. Others, the details of that story on the inside pages of the paper. Vanguard newspaper has Edo Cuba, CDS, police, NSCDC warn troublemakers. And look at the writer says the world's watching, we can't afford to fail. Police begin covert operations as plainclothes personnel infiltrate cities. Dark spots. DIGs Frank Mba, Daniel Pedro to lead 35,000 police personnel. Why Apata is most qualified, that's according to Osai Howo. And NSCDC deploys 6,433 personnel. Court restrains IG, CP from arresting, intimidating 68 PDP members. PDP vows to resist illegal arrests and detention of members. These are some of the writers, the details on the inside pages. And the images on the front page are of election materials arriving in Benin for Edo polls. Business Day has petrol price hikes put MPC in rate cut dilemma. Find the details of that story. Continue on the inside pages of the paper. These are some of the papers we have for you this morning.
Well, quite a lot to mull on in the papers this morning, but one of the things that immediately stands out for you is the Edo elections right there. And, you know, a number of reassurances have been coming through as to what exactly is going to be happening with regards to security in the Edo elections. We know that the CDS, General Christopher Musa, was in Edo State yesterday where he met the governor also laying his own set of complaints. But the CDS says, oh, we have just one mandate from the president, which is to make sure that the environment is conducive and secure for the residents of Edo State to be able to come out to vote. Well, while the candidates get ready, mopping up their campaign areas this morning, today is the last day of campaigns, by the way, according to INEC regulations for the Edo elections. We also know that, you know, observers will be also on standby to also see what is going on and to make sure that the polls are free and fair and that the processes are followed through. Well, we'll be speaking with one of them about now. Mr. Samson Itodo of Yaga Africa is in Edo State, is in Benin City, the Edo State capital, and he joins us live from there via Zoom. Good morning, Mr. Itodo. Good to see you on Sunrise Early this morning. I understand that you're supposed to be on your way to the CBN headquarters. What is happening? How was your visit to your arrival in Edo State? Was it yesterday you arrived?
Yes, yesterday. I arrived yesterday, but the Yaga Africa team had been here for 2 weeks training our observers. I think that the stage is set for the election on Saturday. With respect to INEC's preparations, yesterday, the sensitive materials, and in this case, the ballot papers and the result sheets, you know, arrived yesterday. And like you mentioned, this morning, they will be deployed from the central bank to the local government, which is really in tandem with the standard practice for election materials deployment. So it's good to see that there's that level of preparations on the part of INEC. The only concern we have with respect to the logistics, you know, it's the role that the transport unions would play. We understand from INEC that in view of the hike in fuel prices, the transport owners increased the price for transportation, which is understandable. INEC has made a commitment that they will meet those demands. But you know, Mpape, in previous elections, we've seen situations where road transport union workers on the day of election, just, you know, abandon their vehicles and not deploy to the racks to enable the polling officials transport those materials. We hope that does not happen because it will sabotage the entire preparations that have been made for the elections. I think with respect to security, I am very delighted to hear the rhetoric from the Inspector General of Police and also from the CDS about the assurances, you know, and they allayed the fears, and including the incumbent governor who, you know, also did address the press to talk about, you know, their satisfaction with some of the responses from the police. I think it's heartwarming. However, you know, prior to this election, we raised the concerns about the proliferation of light and small arms. One of the updates we've not received is to what extent, you know, have they disarmed, you know, these thugs and also cultists who are in possession of these arms. This afternoon at 1 p.m., the police DIG will be meeting with observers. We're going to be at the state headquarters to receive updates. We hope that they will make those updates available. But it's good to see this rhetoric. However, there are still concerns as to whether, you know, they've disarmed those who are in possession of these arms. But also on the part of the voters, they still have the concerns with respect to security. But we want to assure voters, you know, just like the IG and the security agencies have said, to come out en masse and reverse this decline, this trend of low voter turnout in previous Edo elections.
Are there any areas where you will be looking out in particular? I mean, yes, you have highlighted this two major points of concern: a hike in fuel prices affecting what could possibly happen with transport drivers tomorrow, and then the proliferation of light and small arms. But apart from this, which border around security and the conduct of the elections, are there any other areas that are of concern? For some people, they have highlighted that vote buying could be one of the areas they are looking at. Is Yaga Africa also looking at that as well?
Absolutely. In the build-up to this election, we released three pre-election observation reports, and in each of those reports, we highlighted the voter enticement that signposted the pre-election campaigns. We've seen and observed, politicians distributing 1,000, 2,000 naira to the extent of even donating free fuel and gas to voters. We suspect that this will be extended to election day, where politicians are going to deploy resources, to buy votes on the day of election, or perhaps we might end up with what we call purchased turnout, and not that people are turning out because they want to cast their vote, but because they've been incentivized as a result of vote buying or voter inducement, as the case may be. So it's one biggest worry that we have with respect to this election. I think the second, or perhaps the third one, deals with, the potential to manipulate this election through violence. And this is where, our security agencies have a critical role to play, because we suspect that in some cases, and we've identified 8 flashpoints of violence and 8 local governments, largely in the southern part, in Edo South, which is one of the battlegrounds senatorial district due to the highest number of registered voters, including the highest number of PVCs. That thugs, might be deployed to intimidate voters, not show up on the day of election. And it's a big source of worry for us. And this is where we urge security agencies to continue to assure voters that they will receive maximum protection, to cast their votes for parties and candidates of their choice. But also on the INEC's part, we've raised the issue concerning consistency in decision making, and we've received the assurances from the Electoral Commission. So it does appear that all the stakeholders are conscious and they are aware of the concerns that stakeholders have expressed. We will keep them to their words and see how it plays out, from tomorrow when the sensitive materials get to the local government. Because once the sensitive materials leave the CBN, you need extra vigilance so that those materials don't fall in wrong hands.
Well, Samson, we certainly will be keeping tabs with you and the team and of course our correspondents on the ground to see what exactly is happening in Edo. But we have to thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we can say stay safe as you carry out your duties in Edo State.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Well, we're still keeping tabs on a number of stories. Yesterday, we were watching what happened. We broke the story that the former governor of Kogi State, Mr. Yaya Bello, was said to have visited the headquarters and honored the invitation of the EFCC. Turns out that the EFCC has said, yes, he did visit our quarters, but he's still wanted by us because he was not interrogated by the EFCC. We're still going to be keeping tabs on that development because yesterday, it was reported that there was a siege on the Kogi Governor's Lodge here in Asokoro in the FCT. And in the process, journalists doing their jobs, vehicles were confiscated, cameras confiscated by security officials who didn't want us to see what was going on there. And we've been trying to keep tabs with the EFCC officials to bring us up to speed with what exactly is going on. What was the update? What was the outcome of that? Because we understand that they were trying to, is it effect or forcefully arrest the former governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello, who was said to be taking refuge in the Kogi Governor's Lodge yesterday. It's not clear, but some of the word that we hear is that the former governor, eventually, was in the car, just as we saw earlier, in the car of the current governor, and that they left the lodge yesterday. We've been trying to reach the EFCC officials to confirm this, but all attempts have not yielded fruit just yet. But we'll tell you that we'll be keeping tabs on that particular story and bringing you details as we get them. Just again, that yesterday this particular development happened. EFCC operatives taking or laying siege to the Kogi Governor's Lodge in an attempt to effect an arrest on the former governor of Kogi State, who they say is still wanted by them, even though he was said to have visited the headquarters of the EFCC. It raises a lot of questions, which hopefully we should be getting answers to. But while we attempt to get those answers, we will certainly keep you updated as we get them. We'll take a break at this moment, and when we come back, we'll be sinking our teeth into the matters that we have for you today. Edo is still one of them. We're not done with the situation in Edo. We'll be speaking with some of the actors who will be canvassing for votes today. Today is the last day to canvass for votes. And subsequently, you will only be able to speak with INEC security operatives and those who will be observing the elections. But please stay tuned here on Sunrise Daily. We'll be right back.
Mpape, a densely populated area within Buari Area Council, is experiencing earth movement once again. The tremor, which began last weekend and continued intermittently through Monday night, is raising concern amongst residents of the area.
This one around, just a small, this will not be like before. And that time what happened, it was that they called the government's attention, and the government enter here to do the necessary thing what they're supposed to do. And watch that time the thing stop. Still now, the thing happen again, and the same thing. No need crack for any building. Nothing happen. Just shaking the ground. Let them take action for it. Because from there we can know what is going on.
Though the community borders one of Abuja's highbrow areas, Maitama, the area is popular for licensed quarry activities, especially in the interior parts of the community. However, residents believe there is no link between the quarry activities and the earth movement.
From 1 o'clock to 2, I'm very, very scared because I was inside, but I have to come outside to look what is happening. But I see all the mountain. There's nothing like shaking. And then maybe in 1 hour or 1 hour, 30 minutes, it still shake again. Even here where you did, shake everywhere. So it is very serious something. May federal government do something about it.
Even people, they hear it. They think other na blasting. Because you know all this area na blasting places. So even person hear it in go think other na blasting. Before me myself, I think so other na blasting people.
This is not the first time that there will be same earth movement in the area. However, the latest tremor did not record any disruptions in the community, though the people want the authorities to address the issue.
By that, Well, yes, we're going to be talking about a disaster that has already happened in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, and also how to prevent. Please do forgive us there. How to prevent one from happening here in Abuja as we keep an eye on the tremors that were reported in the Mpape area of the FCT. We have two gentlemen joining us this morning. We have Air Commodore Kennedy Mataluo, who is the Director, Search and Rescue at NEMA, and he'll be giving us an update on what the situation is in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, which is still trying to cope with the floods? We are hoping that they are receding, but the updates we got, is it from an aerial view yesterday? I'm trying to remember the agency that reported that, said 135 hectares of land were affected by the floods that broke out in Maiduguri last week. General sir, is it possible for us to bring us up to speed with what the search and rescue situation is and attempt at relief efforts for the residents of Borno State?
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Yeah, the flood actually covered large area and it submerged a lot of farmlands and affected so many communities. Yes, the water has receded, and we are winding down on the search and rescue because most of the areas now, apart from places like the College of Agri, 545, that we still have some large quantity of water. Water has receded from other areas. Well, I would say that the search and rescue activities is still ongoing, but not like some few days back. We're still trying to check to see people that are still in distress. But it's worthy to note that a large number of the population really decided to stay in their houses because they were scared that if they leave their houses, hoodlums may invade their houses and pack their things. So they decided to remain mostly on the roof of their houses. But we also attended to them by providing water and food for them so that they will be able to sustain them since they don't want to leave. But so far, I would say the water has receded and the search and rescue activities will soon come to a halt. The only thing we are looking forward to doing now is trying to search for probably those that have died to get the corpses to the mortuary so that we know the number of people that actually lost their life during this flood.
Do we have an update yet on, has the number been reported to have increased or decreased?
That's the number of deaths?
Yes, please.
I know it's going to increase because there are so many areas that were cut off initially, and it's now that you can be able to get into the area. So we don't know the number of people that were trapped, probably that have lost their life, and we don't even know the number of people that may have been washed away by water. So by the time we now start doing the total assessment, because the government of Borno State has set up a flood assessment committee, which is going to carry out a comprehensive assessment on all the persons that they have rescued, the persons that are missing, and try to see if we can get them. If we can't get them, then we know that something maybe may have gone wrong. But for now, we can't really say tentatively this is the number, but we know that it's going to increase.
In the interim, what's the number that we have?
I think some days back, just about 34 or thereabout. But I know that as of yesterday, they were recovering some corpses, which I didn't really go out today to ascertain that. But when I go out, I know I will be able to get the right number that they were able to, recover through the night. But for now, I can't really say this is the exact number.
You say that the floods are receding and a number of residents have refused to leave their homes. Instead, they decided to stay on the roofs of their homes so that they can safeguard their property. And somehow you are managing to get relief items to them. Can you give us a sense of how much water has receded, if you can measure it in feet, for instance, or using, say, the roof of a house versus the lintel, window level? How much water, how much would you say, or by how much would you say that the flood water have really receded, especially in the places that have been hardest hit?
Well, I can say that the water has dropped by probably up to 2 meters. It has dropped by more than 2 meters probably. Because initially there are areas that you could not see the rooftops, but now you could see that the water has gone almost to the base of the houses. So I know it has dropped by more than 2 meters. And it's only the areas that are by the bank of the rivers. Those are the areas that are still, inside water. But other areas that are on slightly higher ground, the water has reduced completely. And the main roads now, usually the water is close to the waist, but now it has dropped to below the knee. It's quite low.
Okay, let me take this to my colleague Ayo.
Thank you, Malwa. You know, Ekamodo, one of the questions anyone would want to ask you right now is, what are the thoughts or the plans about the transition from where we are now to a time when all of the water is receded? Do you see any plans in place? Do you see any thinking in that direction at all? Can you hear me, Air Commander Matalu? Okay, well, I'm hoping that we'll be able to get your comments on that one as well, because on the one hand, well, can you hear me now, sir? Okay. Well, Mark, I'm not sure that he can hear me, because one of the issues that I'm really, I'd really want us to find out is whether there is any plan, you know, to full recovery. Just, I mean, you also pointed out that, you know, some people would rather stay where their houses are and they don't want to move. There are fears of disease outbreak. We saw some of that in the papers this morning. And there is also the thinking along whether or not the people will still be able to live in those houses. What are the possible plans to ensure that, you know, people can live freely and healthily in that environment? Air Commander, I'm not sure if you can hear me right now. Okay, well, I can't hear you. Maybe you need to unmute or something. But if you have been hearing me, if you can speak to those issues, you know, what are the plans, post-flooding plans, if we can put it that way, for the people who will be living in that area? What are the things that may need to be done in order for people to be able to live safely and healthily in that environment, all the environments that are flooded right now? Oh dear. Well, Mark, I guess it's back to you right now, because I'm not sure that I can hear right now. Because I'm not sure that I can hear right now. Because I'm not sure that I can hear right now. Because I'm not sure that I can.
I heard your question, and he's in the process of answering it. So over now to you, Ekomodo.
Okay. Okay. A flood assessment committee has been set up by the Borno State government, including NEMA and other stakeholders. Their main job is to first assess the entire place affected, the buildings, and probably the waterways, and look at it. Is it possible for these guys to go back to their houses? And are the houses safe for them to really move in? So that will be done immediately the water recedes to some extent, especially at some areas we call 505 and the College of Agri. And I went around yesterday. I saw that some of the buildings have really cracked badly. I don't think the individuals will be able to get back to their houses. But the government is doing something about it. They are thinking of either rebuilding the entire buildings for them or relocating them to other areas that are safer. But the government is working on it. And in terms of the World Health Organization, NEMA, Health Services, the armed forces too, they are going around already checking, and they have started disinfecting most of the areas. The fire service trucks are being used to disinfect the surroundings so that at least to prevent communicable diseases from spreading around among the people.
So how much, because we are reading in the papers this morning that 100 drums of chlorine have been sent to Maiduguri to try and disinfect the water sources that people will be drinking. But in the meantime, do you have an idea of how quickly this will be done? Because water is life. If people do not get drinkable water in good time, or potable water in good time, they'll drink whatever it is they find. How quickly do you think that these, let's say, chemicals and things that have been deployed will be used, for the immediate safety of the people of Maiduguri?
Yes, effort is in made really to make sure that okay. Effort is being made to make sure that the displaced persons have clean water, so that to prevent waterborne diseases from spreading around. And also, NEMA provided 2 water purifiers to purify water as well as distribute it. It has been working, and large part of the areas, really, that's where they get their water from, the NEMA water purifiers. But I know the government is also making effort there, also purifying water as well as distributing it to especially those that are living in areas that are still submerged. So effort has been made. Also, a lot of water purifying tablets have also been distributed to make sure that nobody drinks dirty water. So effort is being made to make sure that the water, at least that people drink or use to bathe, is clean to some extent.
All right, well, if you can hear me, El Commodore. If you can hear. How about the fears of that disease outbreak? I know that, from what you have said, efforts are being made severally to ensure that, things don't go out of place and that the people can still inhabit their homes when they get back there. But there is also that fear that some people have been expressing in the camps and, everywhere else. Particularly, we also understand that there have been efforts being made to house more than the number of people that a particular IDP camp can take, or a particular refugee camp can take, whichever one we want to put it. So are those fears genuine? Are they valid? Are they germane? Are there any interventions in that way?
Okay, NEMA deployed, as well as World Health Organization and the local government medical field too. They have deployed to all the camps. Also, the Nigerian Air Force are providing some medical service. I think most of the camps have, to some extent, certain medical services to be able to help the displaced persons to prevent outbreak of diseases. Also, some well-meaning Nigerians on their own too have also made effort to provide drugs as well as some level of medical services in some other minor camps. I would say most of the camps have medical some level of medical attention. The only thing is that we don't know as the level of, or rather we don't know as people come together, some may be having one form of ailment or the other that may spread. But effort is being made to really identify those people that are down with one ailment as well as quarantine them immediately as to avoid the spread of diseases. Some days back, 3 days back, we got to know that there was somebody that was identified to have Mpox. And the NEMA medical staff, the World Health medical staff, as well as the local government medical staff, deployed immediately to the camp, the Jajere camp also. And they were able to identify the person. They took the samples, took sample from the young man. But after careful observation, they said it is not Mpox, it is scabies. Though the press is still reporting Mpox, but it's scabies, not Mpox. And the result of the sample taking will be out by next week. So we will be able to know exactly. But all the family members that got close to the young lady have been quarantined for the time being, not to spread the disease. But we know that there may be an outbreak and we're preparing for it.
So, well, that is one finding. But what other findings would you say that the search and rescue operations that you supervise have revealed to you since this process began? What have been your findings, particularly seeing that this unprecedented humanitarian crisis?
Well, I think we really have to look at the way we develop our cities, because the town planning part of the city can determine to a large extent how disaster affects our city, especially flood. I think over time, because there has not been flood in this general area, people build their houses even on natural waterways, to which I think the governor has made up his mind that all accommodations that are located within those areas are likely going to be leveled, so that people will have to move away from natural waterways. That's one. Secondly, is that we don't really look at things more objectively. Probably issues about that dam has been raised, but it was downplayed due to long time that we did not experience any dam damage. But this has opened our eyes so that we always know that things that have not happened could happen at any moment. That's what disaster is. Disaster never wants. It comes when you least expect, and that's what we have seen. Then thirdly, we really have to think about getting enough equipment for the rescue services, because yes, there are equipment that have been used here, but if there are more equipment, probably the police and some other stakeholders, NSCDC will have joined the rescue services, but we narrow it to just the disaster response unit of the military, the NEMA, as well as the SEMA. Those are the main stakeholders that will carry out the search and rescue. But we could have done better if there were more equipment.
Well, we have to say thank you so much, Air Commodore Kennedy Matalo, for joining us this morning, bringing us up to speed on the developments in Maiduguri. We sincerely hope that whenever it is we call on you for an update on what is going on there, that you will be able to bring us up to speed. Thank you so much for speaking with us this morning on Sunrise Daily.
Thank you very much, Ma.
Yes, and thank you to your team too. Let me quickly come to our studios here, because I did say that this was going to be a two-part conversation. One is on mitigating what has already happened, and the other is preventing a possible disaster. Residents of Mpape here in the FCT have been reporting tremors felt in that particular area. Do they have anything to be afraid of, despite assurances by authorities that there is nothing to be afraid of? Well, we do have an expert in-house this morning. He is none other than Dr. Dodo Joseph Dana Sabe, who is the director of Center for Geodesy and Geodesy, beg your pardon, and Geodynamics Toro in Bauchi State. It's an activity center of excellence of the National Space Research and Development Agency, NASTRA. Thank you so much for joining us this morning in our Abuja studios.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is where we are right now. We've seen what has happened in Maiduguri. We've been told that it was highly preventable with the dams not being checked when they ought to have been checked, and the dam broke, and we can see what has happened. Right now, residents have cried out now that they have felt something. You are an expert in this particular areas. We've been told that the FCT is not entirely prone to earthquakes. Is that still the situation?
Not quite.
Okay.
Yeah. Once again, thank you for having me. We've made it severally known to the Nigerian public in respect to the activities that have been going on in Mpape. Let me just take you back a little bit. Sometime, to be precise, on the 7th of September in 2018, we had a similar incident in Mpape. And there was an earth tremor in Mpape in 2018 on the 7th of September. And during that earthquake, or earth tremor rather, what happened was that we were able to track it, we were able to monitor to know exactly what is happening. At that time, you know, there was divergent view from the public. A lot of people were saying it's as a result of the blasting, the mining, and other activities, mining activities going on in Mpape. We we really carried out an extensive investigation. And from the geological point of view, we should understand that Mpape axis falls within the northern Nigerian basement complex and is made up of the rocks at magmatite and gneiss. And the Mpape we are talking about from our aeromagnetic studies reveals that there are a lot of tectonic activities that have been going on. So it falls on what we call a fault zone. A fault zone is that area that is like it's a weak area and is as a result of the movement of some of those rocks that are within that area. So when those rocks begin to disintegrate and there is a kind of a discontinuity of the rock mass that begin to move, it results to displacement. And once it results to displacement, it's as a result of the volume of that rock mass that begins to move. And from the aeromagnetic study that is carried out, is extended from Mpape, moving up to Kachia, to Kagarko, and to Kwei in Kaduna State. And don't forget also, coincidentally, in September 2016, Kwei had a similar experience. So the Center for Geodesy and Geodynamics, which I supervise under the Space Agency, we were able to carry out an investigation to determine what actually is happening in that 2016. And we were able to understand that that area is automatically sitting on a fault zone. And it wasn't quite long. On the 7th of September 2018, it happened again in Abuja, and with a magnitude of about 3.0, a magnitude that we had.
3.0?
3.0.
On the Richter scale, right?
Yeah.
Is that an earthquake we're measuring?
It is an earthquake we are measuring. And we had a focal depth of about between 10 to 15 kilometers. That was in 2018. What happened on the recent one that happened, we were looking at it from that perspective. But from what we have discovered, it is not as a result of the mining activities, the blasting that people were thinking. We have come to somehow conclude that yes, based on the historical and geological investigation that has been carried out long ago, if you go down to the southwest, there is a fault that comes from Ifewara in Osun State. It extended up to Zungeru. And from that Zungeru, coming up to Abuja, moving towards the Mpape axis, and then extending up to Kachia, Kwei.
Okay.
So,
just because we're pressed for time, and
yeah.
I know that a lot of these things are technical.
Yeah.
What I want you to do is break it down as much as possible.
I'm trying to break it down.
To say, precisely to residents who are,
yes.
Who are feeling what they are feeling. They know what they are feeling.
Yes.
Right now, what exactly, because the authorities say, oh, we have stationed some equipment there. We don't think that there's any cause for alarm. Do you think that there is any cause for alarm?
There is no cause for alarm, in the sense that the agency, we've established equipment that we use that enables us to carry out the measurement. But don't forget that earthquake is a natural phenomenon which cannot be stopped by human being. But what we could do is to carry out a monitoring to be able to come out with an early warning. We may not be able to say that this is the day it will happen, or the time, the hour it will happen, and all of that. But we will be able to look at some signatures that we will be getting from our monitoring equipment. Then we can now say, from what we are seeing, there's that likelihood of an event of this nature is going to happen. So what we are doing, what we are trying to do now is that, having known that Mpape is within that fault zone, the agency, and in collaboration with other agencies, we are coming up with what we call a kind of a building code. So that building code is to be able to, a seismic building code. And that code is able to enable those that are carrying out construction to embed it when they are carrying out any kind of construction in those areas. It happens in other countries like Japan and others. They have their own building code. You don't just build anyhow because of the weak, because that area is a weak zone. So when you build, there are some mechanisms that you need to put in place so that it makes your structure to withstand any kind of vibration that will come up. So this, we are now going into that extent for now. We are going to that direction for now.
So right now, the residents of Mpape need to know that Mpape sits on a fault zone.
Yes.
And it is not completely ruled out that an earthquake can happen.
Yeah, it's not completely ruled out. But what we are saying is that it has not gotten to that magnitude that they should begin to exercise that fear. But what we need to let them know is that in the as time goes on, when we develop these seismic building codes, it's going to enable them in terms of putting up structures in those areas. So those structures will be able to withstand any kind of vibration that will come up. But it has not gotten to that level yet.
Okay. But for those who have already put up structures, what are they supposed to do with the structures?
Yeah, for those that are putting up, they've already put the structures. There's nothing we can do in that regards, but to be able to still let them know that this is the way to go. Subsequently, when you are putting up structures in those areas, this is what you need to do.
Okay, so right now, you did say that there was a let's say, and I fear to use the word earthquake because the authorities haven't quite used that word. But a tremor, and we recorded something that was 3.0 on the Richter scale. It's just, you know, two marks away from where we start to see that the earth is shifting somewhat. When did you say we recorded this again? Yeah,
we recorded that in 2018.
2018?
That is September.
7th of September 2018.
Yeah, when we had one of the earthquakes in Mpape 2018. That is what now triggered us to start doing an intensive investigation, research. So we have the space agency, we got an intervention after that earthquake. So we've been able, or let's say a tremor, we've been able to set up our equipment. Right now, if you go to Mpape at the government science secondary school, we have a station that we have set up there. It's an integrated monitoring station that comprises of one of our two different types of our sensors that we monitor. We carry out the monitoring. And then we also set up one at a government science secondary school at Maiduguri. We have a station there, and also another one in our national headquarters of the space agency. And we want to now focus on Mpape itself, because since we've now discovered that it has becoming like a recurring decimals.
It's like an epicenter.
Yes, so of course it's an epicenter. So in the coming days, we intend to set up what we call an episodic point. The episodic point we will establish different monitoring points. We will be coming there periodically to be taking some measurement, getting data from the satellites, and also taking data from the ground using our seismometers. And then we'll be doing constant data investigation to be able to look at, to ascertain what actually is happening, so that we'll be able now to give the early warning. And follow up to that, we are also looking forward to automating the entire station. And the automation is that data will be streamed to our center in Toro. So once data goes to our center in Toro, we'll keep doing a kind of a real-time monitoring. And that's where we are going into the real-time monitoring now.
So, but let me get this straight. You say that the fault line extends all the way to Kachia and Kwei and
axis in Kaduna State.
In Kaduna State.
Yes.
You can't just go to Kaduna State. There are a few states along the way. Does it get to Nasarawa? Does it go through Nasarawa?
I've told you the direction. Okay, the direction, the north is within the northeast southwest direction as it goes up to that axis. So if at all Nasarawa State extend to that axis, it means it falls within Nasarawa State as well.
All right. So in the meantime, what should residents do? What should we be doing?
In the meantime, I would say that the residents of Mpape should not panic. It's not something that they should somehow get worried, because information getting to us that some residents of Mpape have started relocating. So I don't think it has gotten to that extent of Mpape resident to start relocating. It hasn't gotten to that extent.
Okay. And you say you will let us know if there is any cause for concern?
Yes.
Indeed. Well, we have to thank you so much for your time with us this morning. I think that this has been very enlightening. Dr. Dodo Joseph Danasabe is the Director, Center for Geodesy and Geodynamics in Toro in Bauchi State. It's an activity center of excellence of the National Space Research and Development Agency, NASRA. Thank you so much for coming on Sunrise this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, quite a lot to keep tabs on, but the word to the residents of Mpape, and I want to believe by extension to the FCT in general and also extending to parts of Nasarawa and Kaduna State is do not panic. The authorities are monitoring events and there is nothing to be worried about just yet. That's what they have said. So stay calm, stay cool. Building codes will be out in just a moment. While all of that is happening, we will have to move to the next segment. Business Morning is up next, and I believe Ladi Williams is here to give us an update of what is happening in the business world. Ladi, over to you.
Thank you, Mpape. Well, hello, welcome to another trading day right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Let's get to the top stories that set your agenda. Definitely, it was a holiday shortened week, but we've had a few days of trading and the market has been looking good. So top stories now. Nigeria's global compliance rating received a significant boost as the Aviation Working Group, AWG, co-chaired by Boeing and Airbus, promptly elevated Nigeria's compliance score from 49 to 70.5 points, marking a historic high for the nation. A statement issued from the Office of the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development says the rapid adjustment to Nigeria's global rating is a positive step in the country's aviation sector, as it's the largest score the country has attained to date, indicating its commitment to international standards and practices. The Aviation Working Group, headquartered in London, New York, commended the efforts of the Aviation Minister and his team for their dedication for this achievement and expressed its readiness to increase Nigeria's score further once the country adjusts its administrative rules and the courts begin to apply the practice of direction to the oil market. Now, oil prices fell in Asian trade today after a larger than expected Federal Reserve interest rate cut. That sparked concerns about the U.S. economy, even though investors have been asking for this cut for the longest time. But we saw a rebound there, $74.08 a barrel. That's a rebound from that drop earlier. WTI crude, $71.23 a barrel. That was a trade there. Let's get a close now for the Naira yesterday. The market started on a bullish note, and later in the session, the Central Bank of Nigeria intervened as a willing seller of the greenback, and we have a jump there, 7.05%. That was a gain for yesterday, 1,539 Naira. We've had that 1,006 psychological level showing a lot of weakness there, but 1.5 was the close. NAFEX, marginal gain, 0.02%. So yesterday into today is all about what the central bank has done in its latest meeting. That's the U.S. Federal Reserve. They've lowered interest rates for the first time in more than 4 years. Quite a historic moment, and investors have been waiting for that. Well, joining us to discuss, we have Mr. Bismarck Rwani, Managing Director, Financial Derivatives Company. He's going to tell us what this means for the markets. That's in a moment. Stay with us. All right, let's bring in Mr. Bismarck Rwani. Great to have you, sir. So definitely investors have been waiting for this moment, and it's finally upon us, the first rate cut by the U.S. Federal Reserve. Talk to me about the significance of this move.
Yes, good morning, Ladi, and thanks for having me. I think this is a major milestone in the global economic space. This is the first time in 4 years in which the Federal Reserve has actually moved rates downwards. It was a jumbo move. Everybody was expecting 0.25%, but they actually did 50 basis points, which is significant. It has its political implications because it says that it's quite comfortable with the level of inflation, and they are keeping their eyes on employment and growth, and the economy is resilient and strong. Coming 6.5 weeks to an election, this is a major endorsement for the incumbent, for the Vice President Kamala Harris. So this is great news. But what are the implications of this as far as we're concerned? One is that because of this, the price of oil has spiked because once the interest rates fall, the dollar gets weaker. And then when the dollar gets weaker, commodity prices increase. So what we've seen the price of oil go from $72 a barrel, 71, 72, now to 74 plus. It also means something else. The stock market at first rallied, and then it gave up most of it because the interest rate cut had been priced into the market sentiment. But the futures today are showing that it's going to open stronger. So what this means is that, one, the dollar gets slightly weaker, interest rates are lower, and that a lot of investors in the advanced markets that are going to be dissatisfied because of lower interest rates are going to be moving their monies and their funds into emerging markets like Nigeria and in Sub-Saharan Africa and Egypt and China. Now, so if this reversal of capital flows takes place, it means that, technically speaking, the naira gets stronger, the balances and investor funds become more available globally. But that's not all. There is a lot of competition for global funds, and therefore, it's not to mean that anybody who is doing the wrong thing is going to attract funds, but you have to do the right thing and continue to sell your story. Thirdly, the probability of a debt rescheduling for countries that are bunched up, that are having high debt service burden, will be higher, and Nigeria falls into that category. We begin to prepare ourselves for debt rescheduling based on bunched up maturities in the year ahead. I think that is more important than anything else. So the effect on this, because the price of oil has gone up to $74 a barrel, it means that the subsidy saga begins to comes back to us. But even then, the average price that was expected for the year was $80 a barrel. At $74, it's still Nigeria, and the Nigerian refiners are still in the money. So, and that helps and goes a long way in terms of preparing people and preparing the domestic inflation profile of Nigeria. Don't forget that Nigeria's inflation actually came down for 2 consecutive months, announced that. But like we said in that discussion on Tuesday, we shouldn't get too excited, because we think, and we believe strongly so, that inflation begins to increase again in September after the increase in the price of petrol and things have actually factored in.
Right, and we know, with the previous rate hikes, most investors had to run to safety, away from risk assets. But bringing it down to Nigeria, how do you see this impacting the domestic market? And is it time to just go all in for foreign bonds at this point, US-denominated bonds?
No, firstly, the Nigerian market is getting more internationalized. In other words, people can invest in dollar instruments in Nigeria right now. The Securities and Exchange Commission is making that possible. However, what we need to realize, the US economy is the largest economy in the world. It's about almost 27% of total output. And therefore, whatever happens in the US affects all other markets. What are we saying here? We're saying that certain prices of commodities in this market are now beginning to show signs of improvement. For example, the price of a basket of tomatoes is now down 63% to 22,000 naira. Palm oil, as you know, has come down by 12.5% to 7,000. And as of this morning, I understand the price of flour has gone in the markets have gone up to 70,000 because of some things happening. But beans has become quite unaffordable. Beans is at 180,000 naira. It's gone up by almost 20% in the last 2-3 weeks. And of course, rice is now back up, I understand, to 100,000 naira, and that is quite frightening. So we have a mixed bag, and rice is about 8% of the basket, the food basket. So coming back to what I said earlier, that we expect inflation to increase again in September, so we don't get too excited. We expect, because of dollar weakness, some global commodity prices to increase. But we've also seen an increase in the price of gold. And that is always an indication that markets are happy for a stronger US economy, but also believe that the US dollar might be slightly overvalued at this time in relative markets. So what does that mean for us? Said domestic, I said it earlier on that the price of oil increases. That's good for our revenue, but also bad for our domestic car, for petrol prices. But also, we're seeing that the naira has depreciated, which is strange because the US dollar has weakened, and now the naira has depreciated, not because of anything else, but because we have not come up with an auction. We need to come out and say we are going to have the next auction. Once if the central bank announces the date of the next auction, you'll see that Naira will appreciate quite sharply. It's up to central bank to do that. On the other side, we've seen LNG, price of LNG increase by 1.12%, and that's good for Nigeria. 14% of Nigeria's exports comes from LNG, and we're seeing the stock market in Nigeria also begin to rally in line with most global markets.
All right, so now that most central bankers are heading towards the dovish direction, that's the major markets, but we're still seeing some pressure in some African countries. What does this signal for 2025?
No, I think one thing that I didn't say was that Jerome Powell said this is 50 basis points, but he believes that there'll be another cut this year. And the question is he going to do 25 or 50? We believe that on the upside, he could do 50. If he does 50 basis points, right, which means that the cost of money, international money, becomes cheaper, activities in the world get more aggressive, and begins to get robust, and we begin to see that the level of activity, that economic activity that will actually boom, actually buoy the economy, especially in China. China has been suffering. So we think that the Chinese economy begins to recover slightly. We think that barring unforeseen circumstances, that you will have a technical deadlock in the Ukraine area. Therefore, a truce may be possible because we're going into the winter season. But generally speaking, a good economy is always good for markets. And everything, all hands are on deck, and fingers are crossed as to what will happen on November 5th at the US election. But because of this move, this is very, very positive for Vice President Kamala Harris. But you never say never until the last moment, because 24 hours is a long time in politics.
Right. So definitely a lot to unpack there, but we'll see how this impacts most of these markets going forward. Thank you so much, Mr. Bismarck Rwani, MD, Financial Derivatives Company. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take a breather now. Welcome back. Well, recently, Mastercard appointed a new country manager for Nigeria and the area business head for West Africa, the person of Folashade Femi-Lawal. She joins us now to share her vision for Mastercard's future in the region and highlight key industry trends. Great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Thank you very much. It's my honor to be here on the show this morning.
It's great to have you. It's great to have you. So it's been 7 months since you took on the role of country manager for Mastercard in West Africa. What have been the key milestones so far?
It's been an exciting journey so far, Ladi. In just 7 months, it looks like 7 weeks, we have made significant stride in my cluster, West Africa, particularly in financial inclusion deepening and fostering innovation through strategic partnership. The promise Mastercard made to our customers is we will power economies. We are going to empower their businesses. We are going to build sustainable economy where everyone prospers. We have kept to that promise. For example, this partnership that we've had with Fidelity and Access Bank in commoditizing cross-border remittances, in ensuring that it's affordable, it's also fast and easy to track. We also opened an office in Ghana just to underscore our commitment to spread digital payments deeply in West Africa. That's not all that we have done. We realized that collaboration is a new competition. We are working with regulators, with industry partners down the value chain to strengthen the digital payments ecosystem.
And some would say, most of these fintechs might be or supposed to be competition, but talk to me about how Mastercard is collaborating with most of these fintechs that are springing up everywhere.
Well, Ladi, you will agree with me that we need the fintech also in our ecosystem. And part of our promise at Mastercard is expand in payments, how we can embrace new technologies. And one of the programs that Mastercard has that is close to my heart in this my 7 months has been the Start Path program. The Start Path program is to support startups and fintechs for them to be able to access Mastercard massive global footprints while domestically guiding them through their journey. And one of those fintech that we have supported is Omni Retail as well as Alezo. But let me give you the success stories of Omni Retail. Omni Retail is a digital enabler that supports FMCG, wholesalers, and retailers. We started working with them on the pathway of Start Path. What have we seen so far? Omni Retail now supports 140,000 retailers across Africa in 3 countries and 65 branches. Globally, at Mastercard, we've been able to roll out this Start Path initiative across 455 companies globally, and in Africa, more than 20, which signifies that we live to the promise that we have made to our partners in Africa and across the world at Mastercard.
All right, let's look at another issue. Now, we know cybersecurity is becoming, increasingly important as, digital transactions rise. What steps is Mastercard taking to ensure the safety and security of its users in the region?
At Mastercard, we pride ourselves in building a technology that never fails for a world that never sleeps. That also tells you that we got our customers covered, whether they are awake or they are transacting or not. Cybercrime, the world over, is a great concern. And Mastercard has got that covered by the opportunities we have created in building capacity with our partners. We've leveraged AI to deploy fraud tools that are not just going to wait until the fraud has manifested, but to begin to alert our partners on unusual transactions till they become an actual threat. And part of that is a partnership with Committee of E-Business Industrials on Cyber Security Forum that we have had in Nigeria, and also the Ghana Cyber Security Forum, in a continuous effort to bridge the knowledge gap and to create awareness globally. Remember, Mastercard has a footprint all over the world, and we are bringing that to all our partners, even in Africa, as well as West Africa, that is my cluster.
You've been a strong advocate for gender equality and empowerment. How are you, integrating, these values into operations?
That's one of the big topics that are close to my heart, Ladi. What we've done at Mastercard is a pledge that we made that by 2025, Mastercard will connect 1 billion people, 50 million micro and small medium entrepreneurs, with a laser focus on 25 million women entrepreneurs. That's one of the promises that I'm bringing to bear on this role. And so far, we also launched the Girls for Tech initiative to work girls, to encourage them. Remember, the hands that rocks the cradle rules the world. And Mastercard recognized that. So far, we've been able to train 3.5 million girls on the Girls for Tech program. Our target is 5 million. We've also partnered with Glovo. Over 300,000 meals have been delivered to school children in Nigeria and Kenya, because we just don't want to train them on their education. We want to support their nutrition. A hungry soul cannot be trained at all. But that's a promise we have made, and we are keeping to that at Mastercard.
Right, and I'm sure you're also looking out for the boys, because I'm rooting for the boys too. but looking ahead, what are your top priorities for Mastercard, in West Africa over the next year, and how do you see the company, evolving in this fast-changing market?
Yeah, I agree with you. In a fast-changing environment, the macroeconomics challenge is not just limited to Nigeria or Africa. It's global. And I listened to Bismarck's conversation earlier today. It's underscores the need for a future strategy that is focused on expanding mobile money. We want to continue to partner with governments via the National Digital Economy Policy and Strategy, which is called NDEX. We expect to drive digital payments growth. We want to continue increased collaboration to remain competitive. We want to drive contactless payments. Nigerians are well-traveled people, and we see tap on phone, tap and go everywhere in the West and even in some African countries. I just come from South Africa. Tap on phone is prevalent. Why is that not happening? Why is that not fast-tracking in terms of adoption in Nigeria? We are partnering with relevant stakeholders to drive that. We want to strengthen partnership to drive financial inclusion across West Africa. Remember, we have promised to connect 1 billion people to the digital economy by 2025. Everything that we can do to make that happen, leveraging partnership with governments, fintechs, telecom to support individuals and SMEs, and of course the media like yourself, just to make sure we fulfill that. That is on our priority list for 2025, lad.
Yeah, tap to pay is definitely a very interesting one. But thank you so much, Folashade Femi Lawal. She's country manager for Nigeria, area business head for West Africa. Thank you so much for sharing your vision.
Thanks for having me
with us. Thank you. And still talking about the women, with over 800 Nigerian women as alumna, the United States Consulate in Lagos has launched the second part of the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs. The three-day program had the Consul General, Will Stevens, expressing the target of putting women at the fore of digital economy and fostering innovation in Nigeria. Take a listen.
Hey, Sissy, how are you? You're looking so beautiful.
Women acting out what is normal when they meet, be it at formal or informal gatherings. This time, it's at the instance of the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs 2.0 launch. As the name implies, this is for business, as the United States government is supporting and empowering women by creating platforms for them to showcase their products and services.
Crispy, normal Nigerian food, right? But now we've packaged it on the go, and we have different varieties.
The Consul General in Lagos, Will Stevens, shares the reason for focusing on women.
You are the very backbone of this economy. This is where the growth is coming from. 90% of businesses in Nigeria are small and medium enterprises. And 40% of those are owned by women. And probably those are the 40% that are profitable, are the ones that are owned by women. And so having the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs, where we support you and we support your growth and connect you to the United States, is such a cool thing. But two things I want to talk about. First of all, how you support each other, because this to me it's what sets apart AWE in Nigeria from AWE in other countries. It's the cohorts. It's the fact that you stay connected, that you have your WhatsApp group. I love that you're supporting each other, investing in each other, and seeing each other grow.
Members of the AWE community say the benefits are many.
My journey so far with AWE, learning how to be a better entrepreneur, learning how to better manage your funds, how to grow your business better, and most importantly is the community of women that I have been opportuned to get to work with. From them you get to purchase stuff, they also get to purchase from you, and basically just have a beautiful hub where we can all work together to grow each other's businesses.
The U.S. Consul says that the AWE program will continue with focus on social media, e-commerce, artificial intelligence, among others.
All right, let's get a check on the local bourse now for the close. Yesterday was another bullish close for the trade. Yesterday, equities market still moving in bullish territory, 0.56%. That was again yesterday, adding about 313 billion. That's the market cap. Let's look at the trading activity. That was mostly red, but deals were more than Tuesday's trade. 9,627 deals, and there were 361 million units traded, valued at 7.56 billion naira. Let's look at the sectoral performance. Again, financial services, banking counter again doing well, 1.06%. That's been the trend since last week into this holiday shortened week. Consumer goods, that's down marginally, 0.07%. Another marginal loss for the industrial goods. That we see oil and gas coming back up 0.35%. Insurance, also financial services, following the banking counter, up over 0.5%. Let's look at those top trades. Definitely we see Japan Gold again. Top trade, 64 million units traded. And FBNH, financial services, 26.67 million units. UBA, 25.71 million units. And, definitely markets are just watching out for what most of the central bankers are going to be doing with rates. Next week, we're going to get the rate decision for Nigeria. Is it going to be a pause? Is it going to be another hike? Definitely, inflation seems to be tending downwards, even though some say you can't feel it when you go to the market. But at the end of the day, we'll see what the CBN will do with that data. We have the first rate cut in the U.S., so it might be rate cutting seasons for most major markets. But right here, we're still trying to see how the CBN is going to tackle inflation, even though we're seeing fuel prices selling at record highs. Where it's definitely a tough one for the central bank trying to tame inflation at this point, seeing how petrol impacts our inflation. Well, we'll get today's close for the markets later on today. That's on the news at 10. But now I'm going to hand things over to the Sunrise Daily team. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye-bye.
I just want to assure you that members of the armed forces are here to support you in this election, to make sure that the election is peaceful. Our drive, our mandate from Mr. President is to ensure that it is peaceful, free, fair, and credible. And that is what exactly we're going to do. So everybody you see here is here to ensure that is done, and that's the mandate. And that is why I'm here to also look at it, to see the troops and address them critically for them to understand the importance of free, fair, and credible elections. Nobody is to take sides. Whoever it is that is popular and the people want, we want the people to be the ones to select who they want, not who is being imposed on them. So at that, I can guarantee you. We have done it for other states in the past 3 elections. I'm sure you noticed that it went well. We want to do the same thing here. The days of impunity are over. The election shouldn't be war. People shouldn't die because they want to go and select who they want to vote. So, in clear terms, that's why I came.
Politicians will behave the way they like, but members of the security agencies should give the public assurances and confidence. Like we're not asking for any favors. We are saying let Edo citizens be free to go to the polls and express themselves the way they wish. And will accept the outcomes of any properly conducted polls. But when you have a situation where citizens are being intimidated by people in uniform, last night some people woke me up at 3 a.m. There were policemen at Edo Central trying to still arrest people last night. I got a call this morning again about the Sienna boss at the area office with the mandate to come and pick up. I mean, elections that are 2 days away. We have, people who have been arrested, taken away from Edo. In law, it's only fair. If you claim that somebody has committed an offense in a place, you arrest that person and try that person in that location where they committed the offense.
Well, we did say that our conversation on the upcoming Edo elections happening this weekend is not over just yet. We did speak with Mr. Samson Itodo earlier of Yaga Africa just to give us a look and feel of what is going on. You've heard again the promise of the CDS to provide security and create a conducive atmosphere for the elections to take place violence-free in Edo. But just while we, hang on to those assurances, let us also get the last word. What is the key messaging of the three main contenders, the three main political parties involved in this race? I know that today the candidates will be doing their last mop-up. It's the last day of campaigns according to the schedule released by INEC. And at the end of the day, while it is, the candidates are the ones who are going to be in office if any one of them is elected, it is their political parties that carry the machinery of the message, or at least should do so. And so we're going to be speaking with some of the actors and the political parties involved in this race, especially the three top contenders, that of the APC, the PDP, and that of the Labour Party, as were mentioned in no particular order. This morning, we're joined by former minority whip of the House of Representatives and also a member of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Samson Osage. Welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning, Honorable. Okay, Honorable, I understand you're muted. If you can unmute, that will be very helpful. But also, we have joining us Madam Aisha Yesufu, who is an active citizen and also a member of the Labour Party. She is also joining us this morning. I'm unsure as to whether she is in Edo State, but I want to imagine that she is live in Edo State this morning. Madam, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you very much. But unfortunately, you're not very audible. I just can hear you faintly.
Oh dear, I'm going to keep doing my best to be as loud as I can. Trust me, I'm speaking the loudest I possibly can. So I imagine that the technical team would work on making sure that the audio works better for you to hear me. And we also have Mr. Ken Owier, who is a real estate magnate, we understand, and perhaps a member of the PDP, but he certainly supports the candidate of the People's Democratic Party in this election. Mr. Owier, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning as well.
Hello? Hello?
Mr. Ken Owier, can you hear me? Well, this is the conversation we're going to be having this morning. I can only...
It's very faint. Can you speak louder?
I am certainly speaking at the top of my lungs this morning. I hope that...
Can hear you now.
Great.
Good morning, please.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the program. I'm going to be praying and hoping that the connection in Edo State, where you all are this morning, will improve. I hope nothing has been done to the connection there ahead of the elections that are going to be taking place this weekend. But we know that your different political parties and the candidates will be going out for the last mop-up of the campaigns this morning. What is the key message that you have for the people of Edo State as you go out? Let me start with you, Madam Aisha Yesufu. Two major political parties have been on the ground in Edo State. The people of that state have tasted the two political parties, that of the PDP and that of the APC. What is new that the candidate of the Labour Party will be offering to the people of Edo?
Thank you so much, Mpape, for having me here. I think what is new is the fact that this is going to be administration of a good governance. What he's trying to offer is service to the people, that the people matter, not the might of a party, not the might of certain godparent, but that it is the people's votes that matter. And when the people vote for him, and he knows that the people that brought him, definitely he's going to work for the people. And so all the things that he is looking at is the fact that it is the turn of Edo people to experience good governance, accountability, and transparency, to actually see how things work when people focus, when the focus is on the people and ensuring that the people have a good life and a better life. And so Olumide Akpata is coming in with those ideas and servant leadership, and saying that he wants to put Edo at the place that it's supposed to be. And I think for every Edo person, what we should all be looking at is who is the person that is best fit for the job. And definitely by the time you end up voting for him in the Labour Party, we're going to get that, and we will hold them accountable and ensure that the people finally understand that governance is of two sides, supply and demand, and the people voted in are the people who supply, and they're supposed to supply good governance, and the people who voted in will continue to make demands.
Okay, let me come to the candidate of beg your pardon now, it's not the candidates we're speaking with this morning, they're members of the political party. But let me come to you, Honorable Samson Osage. What precisely, I mean, you've heard Madam Aisha Yesufu there, she says it's about good governance for the people of Edo State. That's what the candidate of the Labour Party is offering. What is your candidate offering the people of Edo State?
Thank you, Mpape, for having me on this program. We have consistently said about our candidate, Senator Monday Okpebholo, he has the passion, service to the people, and this passion he has demonstrated in his capacity both as a private person and in his capacity as Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Beyond every rhetoric, he is the only candidate in this race that has demonstrated love for the people, because he has God-given position in the past to render service to the people of his constituency and his century. Now, it has come up with a 5-point agenda bordering on security, food, agriculture, value-driven education, healthcare delivery, and of course, economic rejuvenation of the state. Monday Okpebholo is one individual who has a serious passion for service delivery, and this he has done by providing services, social services, to the people of his constituency. And I believe that he will bring that passion to bear in the administration of Edo State, especially in the areas of decayed infrastructure, misplaced priority of the current government in so many areas, where, for instance, the healthcare system had been reduced to rubble with the demolition of the main hospital in Edo State and conversion of same to a museum. He tends to develop infrastructures, provide services in the education sector, both in infrastructure and manpower development, provision and employment of a vast number of teachers, because across the state, we have no teachers in our school. The healthcare is in comatose. And to respect institutions of state and institutions of governance, it's so that at the end of the day, there will be harmony across the states against the very divisive nature that this government has put Edo State into. I believe that of all the candidates in the race today, he is the one that has a track record of having served his people and has continued to serve his people, and that he will bring to bear.
Well, we'll see, I mean, how eventually the Edo people decide when they eventually go to the polls. But let me come to you, Mr. Keno, where it does appear that it is the legacy of the PDP that is in contention here. You have heard both parties, the other parties saying, look, what we're offering is good governance. The other one says, look, what we're offering is a 5-point agenda focusing on infrastructure, etc., accusing the PDP of having brought down some structures in that light. What precisely is the continuity, or is it a new page that the PDP is hoping to turn with its candidate, Mr. Aswe Godalo?
Thank you, Mpape, for having me. It's a beautiful day, but we are trying to encourage our people to come out en masse that day to come and vote, for the candidate of their choice. You know, nobody should be coerced to vote for any person, because the three political parties, they are already presented their own, seem to be, you know, ahead of the two of them. Because as the last speaker said, he has a whole lot, you know, to show, even when he's not in government. You know, it is so much. And now as a senator, he has also done so much. So it's not the question that I will do. This I will do. They've all been in government for over 8 years. What is new that you are bringing to? I've done it for the past 8 years. The same I will do. They have been in Shomole government over 8 years before the president. So these promises, we are tired of promises, Senator Upewulu, aka Apakomiza, because I have told everybody that, you know, you have to build on the legacy of Shomole Lebi.
Mr. Awia, I would, if you can hear us, I'm going to ask you to please, perhaps you can disconnect and rejoin the Zoom. The audio is not very good. We cannot hear you very clearly, sadly. We'll be very grateful if you can disconnect and rejoin so that we can rectify whatever problems are there with the audio. But let me come back to you, Madam Aisha Yusufu. You spoke about accountability. That is what you're offering the people of Edo State. There are fears, I mean, between the PDP and the APC over the last couple of years, and the divisions that have happened, the disaffection, the fallouts that have happened with their own, will I say, their candidates. And you have been following the politics of Edo State for years. I do not need to tell you, you know, where Mr. Godwin Obaseki used to be and how it is that he came to join the PDP. But however, it does appear that there have been a plan, a roadmap that they have been following between themselves. They fear that, you know, that will be totally discarded if your candidate is elected into office as governor. Is this something that they have? Because they believe that there needs to be some continuity in government. How will your candidate, you know, overcome? How is he been able to assuage that for the people of Edo State to say that, well, projects that are ongoing that maybe have a longer gestation period will not be abandoned? Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. I think you're freezing up a bit. I hope you're hearing me. And I do agree. I do agree. Whoever that has the fear that the plan of APC and PDP will be thrown away, it's actually factual, because the plan that they have given us is a plan of failure. And you see between them, these are two parties that just have two different branches. They are the same. For example, you see one of them, they wake up in the morning, the current governor that we have, the first half of the game, he was APC, second half, he came out as PDP. You see people, his deputy governor who had come back to APC and all of that. So those people should know that these are people that are the same. At the end of the day, the failure that we have gone through, 25 years, you know, of this democracy that we have, Edo State hasn't really enjoyed the democracy, the dividends of democracy as much as it should. And so, yes, that plan is going to be thrown away. The plan that we're talking about now is the plan of good governance, is the plan of working for the people, is the plan of ensuring that things are put in place that is going to uplift the people economically, that the lives of the people are going to be secure. And I'll tell you something, they always say that you know, in the pudding, it's the taste in the pudding for you to know what is going to happen. One of the things that Olumide Akpata did was to ensure, before he even wrote his manifesto, before he even put out his pact, to go around Edo State, the 18 local government, 3 times, talking to the people and finding out what actually are the problems of the people. And that's why he got to find out about Osaro that before would go to Benin, do the Benin and Warri trip 3 times. That today he could barely do once. He said that he's wasting his time at the filling station, or the roads are so bad he can't travel, or there's insecurity on the road, he can't travel. And these are the problem. I'm not just this one. A lot. We've seen situation whereby a hospital was brought down and a museum was put there. You know what we have in museums? Museums, we have relics, we have artifacts of people mostly who are dead. And so it seems as if, the killing is just what wants to go on. Now we're saying no. We must have a situation where there is education, there is security, and of course, the economy, enabling environment for the economy to thrive. One of the things also that Olumide has really talked about is on the issue of electricity. We know what it is if you have 24/7 electricity in a community, in a place. Businesses will thrive, and this would help. And Olumide, as someone who has been a corporate lawyer and has worked with people in the electricity sector for a long time, has a very good foundation on what is needed to get this to happen. And these are the things that he's bringing to the table. Like yesterday when he was talking, he talked about Abia State. We see what is happening in Abia State. This is what happens when someone is able to get in on the mandate of the people, not depending on godfathers or party to give them, because then you can work for the people without having any tussle. And he said Abia State provided 1 billion naira for small businesses to be able to get interest-free loan, that he is ready to do 2 billion for them. We see what is happening in Rivers State, where there's fight, there's quarrel, godfather deals. We don't want to have the same thing in Edo State. We want to have a situation where that somebody comes in, he knows he's accountable to the people, he was voted in by the people, it wasn't by any big political party or whatever, it wasn't by any godfather, godmother, or whatever, but by the people of Edo State, and will ensure that he works for the people of Edo State. These are the things that Olumide Akpata is coming in. A lot of people are talking about turn. That is turn by turn, where APC have done their turn, PDP have done their turn, and they haven't given Edo State good governance. If they had given Edo State good governance, we won't be here talking. People will say, okay, and let them be. But they haven't. So they need to move aside and let all the people who have fresher ideas come in and actually give good governance to Edo State. Finally, I'm going to just add that for those who are saying that, oh, it's the turn of, Edo Central and all of that, but it's the turn of good governance. And we have to say it. If it's turn by turn, then it should have been the turn of a woman. If you're saying it, we have two religions in Edo State. One will be the turn of a Muslim. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you're Christian, you're Muslim, you're woman, whether you're good governance you want.
Well, Madam, I'm very sure that Mr. Sage has responses to some of the issues that you have raised. But while you are doing that, Mr. Sage, I'd like you to also comment on the position of people that your candidates and the candidates of the PDP did not show up to talk to Edo voters through a debate. Is there a reason for that? And how do you see that affecting the chances of your party in the elections?
Thank you very much. I think what is more important at this stage is to look at what actually are these candidates up to in terms of how do they intend to drive the policies, and as to whether the current program of this government will be tuned out. I agree with Asha only to the extent that this current government has practically had no definite program for the progress of Edo people. And that is very clear from misalignment of policies, misplaced of priorities across the board. If this government, the governor who was a product of the APC in his first tenure, were to follow the program of Comrade Soshomole-led APC government when he came in 1960, we will not have had a flooded Edo State and an infrastructure deficit regime in Edo State. So this government failed totally, and it has no program which anybody is to tell us that to continue with. The only program that they have to continue with is disrespect for traditional institutions, misplacements of priorities, capital flights that will not empower Edo people economically, and so on and so forth. And let me also say this. Edo State, since the beginning of this democracy, has witnessed a glorious era of economic and social development between 2008 and 2006. When Governor Adam Somole had sway as governor of Edo, it is still on record today that his projects and his developmental initiatives across the state still resonate with the people of Edo across the 3 senatorial. So why it can be said the PDP had failed this state? It is not correct that the APC-led government has also failed this state, in the sense that the glorious era that Edo people witnessed tremendous improvements in their lives and in their environment.
But that still doesn't, Mr. Sage, if you can hear me, that still doesn't answer the question of why your candidate didn't show up for the debate. Just a second, just one second, Mr. Sage. Just one second, if you can hear me, because that's the question that I asked you first. And the issues that you have raised do not address the reason your candidate didn't show up for the debate. If you can speak to that pointedly.
I am not the media handler of the candidate, and I believe that he had more serious issues of campaigns and electioneering he was attended to. And he has been speaking to Edo people. He has been speaking to Edo people on all platforms across the state.
But you do know, Mr. Sage,
and the majority of the wards across the state.
Yeah, well, you do know that when you have, if you can hear me, when you have a debate such as that, I mean, you go, on campaigns and all of those things, you are talking to a particular class of people. But when you have a debate, when you engage in a debate, you are actually talking to a completely different set of people altogether. For which reason it would have been a good thing to debate against a candidate with which you are contesting the election.
Across Edo State, many communities do not have electricity to even watch television. But that is not to say many do not watch. I agree that the debate is important. But if it clashes with a major appointment for campaign, the candidate or the party may choose which to attend first, or how to decentralize the needed responses at different quarters. I am not saying it's not important, but I am saying that our candidate is speaking to Edo people on all platforms, I mean, across the board and across the city and district. And Edo people have heard him across all the local government.
Well, one of the issues that I was wondering if there was an interview he granted to journalists to address them on any of those issues that you're talking about, which would have been a wonderful opportunity for him to address it at a debate. But anyway, let's leave that aside. Now, that said, do you see he's not appearing? You can hear me 1 second. Do you see he's not appearing? How do you see it affecting his chances, having not spoken to people directly at a debate with a candidate?
It is not correct that he has not spoken to people. He has had engagement, town hall meetings with a cross-section of elite class, of professional groups, market women, and so on, religious groups. He has had engagement with them, physically, a town hall meeting. If he has not appeared on any media platform, as you want to say, which is not correct, then it may not have been a deliberate attempt to ignore the media or not to respect that particular media house that have organized it. But by and large, sort of elite conspiracy, I believe that the candidate that have engaged most with the people of Edo State by visiting them almost in their homes and in their wards, in their domains and everything, is the candidate of APC. And I think they have heard him loud and clear. He's not a motivational speaker. He does not claim so, like the candidate of all other political parties. But he has a passion which he has demonstrated even before he was elected as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
All right. Thank you. Well, thank you, Mr. Sage. Let me ask Madam Aisha, about this as well. So here we are. Because your party has not contested any election in Edo State, at least to the level that we have it today, what are the chances of the Labour Party? And I'm not talking about your candidate, I'm talking about your party, because it's the logo of your party that's going to be on the ballot. What are the chances of the Labour Party in this election?
The chances of the Labour Party are quite great, because at the end of the day, you just heard what Dr. Samson Osage, representing APC, just talked about, which is that a lot of he said, and I'm quoting his word, trying to paraphrase, that a lot of communities in Edo State do not even have electricity to watch television. And so that's why his candidate refused to appear for the debate. So that tells you everything. There's a lot of suffering in Edo State. There's a lot of poverty. There is a lot of insecurity, and things aren't working. There's wastage, you know, in terms of our governance. The whole years that we've had between APC and PDP, they have just used the state resources the way that hasn't been beneficial to the people. And so because of all of this suffering, the people are tired, and they're getting to a place where they're getting their own power. There's something that Olumide Akpata always says. He says the 21st of September 2024, which is the election day, which is this Saturday, that it's actually Freedom Day. Freedom for the people of Edo State, you know, to be able to come out of the suffering, the hunger, the lack of electricity, you know, the lack of care and regard for the people, the disrespect for the people. And so that anger, you know what they say about Edo people, we know they carry last. And you know, that anger is what the people are using now to say, look, we need to have someone. And yes, you talk about parties, you understand. The Edo people are looking at who is the person who is most competent beyond the parties. And they're saying this. And during the presidential election, we saw what happened. Labour Party, the heartbeat of Labour Party is actually in Edo State. We saw during the presidential election, Edo State is one of the states that the Labour Party won. So Labour Party have all it takes, because the people that are in Edo State are quite passionate about Labour Party, and they're also passionate about Olumide Akpata.
I'd like to know, if you can quickly comment on this, how is the current crisis within the Labour Party also affecting the chances of your candidate? Do you think, have people expressed any apprehension about that? Did you catch my question?
Oh, Mark, were you talking to me? I didn't get that.
Yes, I was asking how the current crisis, the non-recognition of the Julius Abure-led faction by INEC, is it having any impact on the campaigns that has been put out by your candidate?
Absolutely not. It is not having any impact. The same way that the crisis that is rocking PDP and APC, they are also not having any impact. There's a leadership tussle out there, and the INEC has said no, it doesn't recognize that, because, and of course now we have a caretaker committee that has been put in place, and so that takes care of that. The other things, yeah.
I'm so sorry, we're totally out of time. We're almost at the dots of time now, but I have to thank you both for coming on the program. Honorable Samson Osage, former Minority Whip, House of Reps. Madam Aisha Yesufu, member of the Labour Party and an active citizen. Well, we tried to get Mr. Ken Owe to represent Mr. Aswe Godalo of the PDP. Well, sadly, his connection was not very good, but we have to thank you both and wish you all the very best as you go to the polls this coming Saturday. Well, that's how we wrap up the program this beautiful Thursday morning. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Mpape Ogunyusuf.
And I'm Ayo Makine. Have a beautiful day.